The United States has taken a bold step, imposing massive tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. But why would the US make these cars so costly for its consumers? Is it just about trade? Or is there a bigger game at play involving power, technology, and global influence? The race for electric vehicles is on, with countries worldwide scrambling to establish themselves as a leader in green technology. But while the world moves towards an electric future, the United States is setting up barriers. Recently, the Biden administration imposed a staggering 100% tariff on electric vehicles imported from China. Think about that for a second. This decision effectively doubles the cost of Chinese EVs, making them more expensive and much less appealing to US consumers. But what's the reason behind it? Is this merely an economic tactic, or does it reveal something deeper? To get to the bottom of this, we'll explore how China came to dominate the electric vehicle market and why this has alarmed US policymakers. We'll look at the intertwined supply chains, the race for technological supremacy, and the broader implication of these tariffs on trade, environment, and the very future of the automotive industry. By the end of this video, you'll understand how this decision impacts not just prices, but the balances of power between two economic giants. So first, what exactly is a tariff? In the simplest of terms, a tariff is a tax imposed on imported goods, meant to make them more expensive and less competitive in the domestic market. For years, tariffs on cars coming into the US were relatively low, around 2.5%. But things changed in 2018 when the Trump administration raised tariffs on cars from China to 25%, an aggressive move to slow down imports and protect US industries from foreign competition. That was a significant shift, but Biden's recent tariff hike, raising it to a massive 102.5%, takes this policy to a whole new level. It's a clear signal that the US is stepping up efforts to reshape the EV market and assert control over its supply chains. But why? To answer that, let's look at the powerhouse that is China in the electric vehicle market. In recent years, China has become a major force in EV production, overtaking established players like Germany and Japan in terms of both volume and technological advancement. The Chinese government has heavily supported its EV industry, offering substantial subsidies, building infrastructure, and fostering innovation. This focused effort has made Chinese EV brands like BYD highly competitive globally, often selling their models at prices far below their American counterparts. China's influence in the EV sector isn't just about producing cars. It's rooted in its dominance over the global battery supply chain. As a leading producer of essential battery materials like graphite and lithium, China controls over 70% of the world's graphite production. This dominance means that even if an EV is assembled elsewhere, its battery components likely come from China, giving the country significant leverage over this critical part of the supply chain. This dominance has led US policymakers to worry about a future where America could become dependent on China for crucial EV technology. Imagine a scenario where the US is unable to produce or source batteries independently and must rely on Chinese imports to fuel its shift to green technology. For the Biden administration, this isn't just an economic issue, it's about national security. Batteries are the beating heart of the EV revolution, and whoever controls this technology will shape the future of energy, transportation, and by extension, the economy. This brings us to the idea of technology sovereignty. The United States wants to secure control over essential industries, especially those tied to new technologies. The EV industry is seen as one of these critical sectors, one that could determine the future of manufacturing, tech leadership, and energy independence. The tariffs are part of a broader strategy to limit reliance on China for high-tech goods, giving US companies the opportunity to grow without being undercut by cheaper, heavily subsidized Chinese imports. The goal is to encourage more American-made EVs, supporting domestic jobs, innovation, and reducing vulnerabilities in crucial supply chains. But there's more. The tariffs on Chinese EVs are just one part of a larger policy. Biden's administration has also increased tariffs on other essential imports from China, such as steel, aluminum, solar panels, and even some medical supplies. So let's take solar panels as an example. Like EVs, solar technology is critical in the shift towards renewable energy, but China dominates this market as well. Over 80% of the world's photovoltaic cells and modules, key components in solar panels, come from Chinese factories. By imposing tariffs on these imports, the US aims to encourage domestic production. However, this approach raises challenges, as transitioning away from Chinese suppliers can make renewable energy products more expensive in the short term. This leads to one of the most common critiques of these tariffs: the cost to American consumers. By raising prices on imported goods, tariffs often make products more expensive for everyday buyers. For instance, Governor Jared Polis of Colorado has expressed concerns that these tariffs could burden American families by increasing the cost of everything from EVs to solar panels. Higher tariffs can mean that American consumers pay more out of pocket, especially if domestic production doesn't ramp up quickly enough to offset the reduced supply. Some worry that making clean technology more expensive could slow down its adoption, potentially hindering progress towards environmental goals. The economic model that allows China to produce affordable EVs at such competitive prices is another factor in the story. Chinese automakers benefit from lower production costs, and their government supports them through subsidies and infrastructure investments. This has allowed brands like BYD to sell high-tech electric vehicles at prices that are nearly half of similar American models. If Chinese EVs were to enter the US market at these low prices, they'd likely become very popular among cost-conscious consumers. But that same affordability poses a significant risk for US automakers, who face higher production costs and could struggle to compete. The tariffs aim to level the playing field by making Chinese imports more expensive, thereby making American-made options more attractive. For some in the American auto industry, these tariffs are seen as a necessary step to protect US jobs and businesses. Dorian Jimenez, a Chevrolet dealership owner in Oklahoma, sees the tariffs as a chance to revitalize the American automotive industry. According to Jimenez, supporting domestic production can help create jobs, strengthen the local economy, and reduce dependency on foreign imports. To him, these tariffs could be a game changer, giving American manufacturers the space they need to compete. But while these tariffs may support domestic industry, there are legitimate concerns about the potential drawbacks. For many Americans, the cost of electric vehicles is already a barrier to adoption. Higher tariffs on imported EVs mean that those who were hoping to buy an affordable electric car may face higher prices, limiting their choices. Critics argue that this approach, while aimed at boosting domestic production, could inadvertently slow the shift towards green technology by making EVs less accessible to everyday consumers. This raises an important question. Can the US balance economic protectionism with environmental priorities? Beyond the impact on consumers, these tariffs could further strain the relations between the US and China, which have been tense for years. The trade war launched under the Trump administration targeted a wide range of Chinese goods and escalated tensions between the two economic giants. Biden's decision to increase tariffs on Chinese EVs shows that this hardline stance is not only continued, but intensified. By focusing on sectors crucial for the future, like EVs and renewable energy technology, the US is sending a clear message to China. The goal is to limit China's influence in industries that could shape the global economy, but this approach could lead to retaliatory measures from China, creating a back and forth of tariffs and restrictions that could affect a wide range of industries. China, led by President Xi Jinping, has its own vision for the future. Through initiatives like Made in China 2025, China is aiming to become a global leader in high-tech industries, including electric vehicles. It's a strategic move in a global game over power, security, and technology. As this story unfolds, keep watching to see how these tariffs reshape the future of trade and innovation.